Hi Eric. First of all, the whole TPR team, Terre Plane et Révélations, would like to sincerely thank you for taking the time to do this interview with us. We also want to recognize the incredible work you've done over the years to awaken minds around the world and shine a light on the reality of the flat Earth. Your dedication and perseverance have inspired many truth seekers, and it's truly an honor for us to be able to speak with you today.
Hello to everyone at TPR. Thanks so much for the warm welcome and giving me the opportunity to speak with your community. It's always encouraging to see groups like yours forming, organizing, and actively taking part in spreading truths the system has worked so hard to keep hidden. I'm truly honored if my work has helped, even in a small way, to awaken minds and challenge the dogmas we've all been taught. Realizing the true nature of our world is not just a personal journey, but a collective one, and every channel, every voice that joins in makes a difference. I'm glad to be here and look forward to answering your questions.
I'd really like to hear your personal and committed perspective on a bigger picture that connects several major themes: the possible existence of a White Hat Alliance fighting the cabal, the MAGA and MWGA movements, the Nesara Gesara projects, the Cure Revelations, the so-called truth bombs exposing global conspiracies, and ultimately, the question of the flat Earth and our Creator. Why not? Do you think there's truly a progressive disclosure agenda unfolding through current world events? Or is it all actually a carefully orchestrated chaos by the 0.1% meant to regain control, crush all resistance, and trap us even deeper in an Orwellian 1984-style system?
I would say the latter. I have personally not seen enough evidence that there are any significant, mysterious, so-called white hats helping things behind the scenes. I think there are some elements of Trump's presidency and the MAGA movement which have made steps in the right direction, but I've seen just as many elements and steps in the wrong direction. QAnon has claimed patently false things during their drops, including that Earth is a globe, man walked on the moon, and a plane hit the Pentagon on 9/11. So I do not see Q as some reliable source of truth helping us in any way. I'm not as familiar with the Nesara project, but if their goal is abolishing income tax, the IRS, and returning to metal currency, I think these are all steps in the right direction if they can be implemented. To summarize, there are certainly true, genuine activists out there doing their best to implement real change. I know because I'm one of them. But the idea that there is some elite group of white hat insiders who have everything under control and are going to pull freedom, peace, and prosperity out of their collective behinds and bestow it on the world just sounds like a fantasy to keep people complacent. Just like QAnon's motto tells us to just, quote, trust the plan, it seems they want us to trust that they have everything under control, so we don't have to get active and vocal ourselves. We can just sit back and wait for the next Q drop, wait for Trump to save America, and wait for some mysterious group of so-called white hat insiders to solve all our problems for us.
I've been following your work since 2015, and I bought your book Flat Earth FAQ as soon as it was released in French. It's really a shame that more of your books like Spiritual Science haven't been translated yet. In today's world, there are fewer and fewer people who are truly sincere and willing to follow their thinking to the end. So here's my one and only question. Are you a truly free thinker? Or could you, even unknowingly, be part of what some call controlled opposition?
With my French publisher, Artbook Publishing, we're actually planning to translate and publish all of my books in France. After Flat Earth FAQ, The Flat Earth Conspiracy, and Spiritual Stockholm Syndrome, I'm happy to share exclusively that The Earth Plane will be released on September 24th, 2025, and the rest will be coming soon to www.ericdubay.fr, including Spiritual Science. Regarding controlled opposition, I agree there are agents of disinformation who pose as genuine truthers, and it is wise to remain suspicious and critical during our research. To answer your question, I would say, yes, I am truly a free thinker, and I can promise you that I am not part of some controlled opposition. You ask if I could unknowingly be part, and the answer to that is no. I am and have always been a one-man operation doing the activism I see fit, researching the subjects that interest me, writing the books I want to write, and making the videos I want to make. I'm not controlled by anything but my own intuition and discernment, and I'm only in opposition to lies and disinformation. I always have and will continue to write and speak the truth as I see it.
Your latest book, Spiritual Stockholm Syndrome, might shock, or even offend, some in the Christian community. Have you received any feedback from them? Would you say the book is directly against Christianity, or is it more a critique of religious conditioning in general?
I have made most of Spiritual Stockholm Syndrome into videos on my channel, and Christians have seen and commented on some of these videos. However, I have not yet heard from a single Christian who has actually bought my book and read it cover to cover. I think most true believers of Christianity and other religions have already made their mind up regarding their metaphysical beliefs. So to them, a book like Spiritual Stockholm Syndrome would probably seem, at best, like a waste of time, or at worst, blasphemous and heretical. My book is not directly against Christianity and critiques all religious conditioning, but I do spend quite a bit of time on the Abrahamic conception of God, because it is the dominant one believed by over half of the world, and it is the one I am most familiar with, coming from a Christian culture and family myself. Interestingly enough, as I show in the book, early Christian sects like the Gnostics and Cathars, two groups of Christians who were outlawed and hunted down as heretics, held very different beliefs from modern Christians, beliefs that actually align with the premise and proposition central to Spiritual Stockholm Syndrome. I think more open-minded Christians would actually get a lot out of my book, as I quote many extra-biblical Gnostic Gospels taken out of the Bible, and show how the bigger picture of early Gnostic Christianity connects and fits into our current modern misconceptions.
According to the official version, the Earth spins at around 1,670 kilometers per hour at the equator. But when I point at that, in that case, you should just be able to go up in altitude and wait for your destination to pass underneath rather than flying. I am told that the Earth drags the atmosphere and even the stratosphere along with it. I found that hard to wrap my head around. What's your take on this?
To explain away the clearly fixed, motionless Earth beneath us, to account for what should be wildly differing times for east and westbound airplane flights, and to dismiss why helicopters cannot just hover and wait for the Earth beneath to spin towards their destination, globe proponents need to claim that the entire atmosphere somehow sticks like glue to the spinning Earth, and everything flying through the glued atmosphere somehow retains and maintains a slingshot speed boost given from the Earth for its entire flight duration. As far-fetched and nonsensical as this claim is, the implausibilities don't end there. Since the globe Earth spins at 1,670 kilometers per hour at the equator, but drops to half that speed at the mid-latitudes, and slows all the way down to 0 kilometers per hour at the poles, that means that the spinning glued atmosphere also travels at varying speeds, anywhere from 0 to 1,670 kilometers per hour, depending where you are between the equator and poles. Furthermore, the Kármán line, 100 kilometers high, where this supposed glued spinning atmosphere gives way to the unglued, non-spinning, non-atmosphere of vacuum space, would be a death trap for anything traveling through it. At that altitude, the atmosphere and everything in it is supposedly flying around at nearly 10,000 kilometers per hour. To go from being rocketed around at those speeds to being thrust into non-spinning vacuum space would be an incredibly violent transition, and doesn't even make any logical sense how or why the atmosphere and all objects in it would just give way at that altitude. The very proposition of having a pressurized atmosphere adjacent to a non-pressurized vacuum is physically impossible and cannot be demonstrated scientifically. as puncturing a hole in a spray can will display. You must have a solid separation between two different gaseous pressure systems, or else they will quickly equilibrate. Like all globe explanations, you can either swallow their long-winded, implausible theoretical excuses, or accept your own common sense and lived experience of the world. Both of them offer potential reasons for the phenomena in question, but every time without fail, the flat earth reasoning remains simple, demonstrable, and self-explanatory, while globe reasoning is overcomplicated, can rarely be demonstrated, and requires excessive theoretical leaps to explain away things that would otherwise be obvious.
How can I convince my husband? We're both engineers, but he's so deeply conditioned by the mainstream narrative that he refuses to even hear a single argument. For example, from Quiberon, you can clearly see Belle-Île, which is about 18 kilometers away. Based on the supposed curvature of the Earth, about 8 inches per mile, Belle-Île should be hidden by roughly 3.5 meters. And yet, we can see its beaches. Observations like that don't make him question anything. How do you even begin a conversation with someone who refuses to consider this kind of evidence?
The supposed curve is actually exponential, so the mile must be squared as well. When input into an online curvature calculator, if a person 2 meters tall, standing on the beach, can see an island 18 kilometers away, it should actually be hidden behind 13 meters of Earth's curvature, not just 3.5 meters. It certainly is disconcerting and confusing how such obvious red flags fail to spark curiosity or doubt of any kind in so many people. Unfortunately, the indoctrination is deep, pervasive, and multifaceted. People have been taught that level means curved, that up and down don't objectively exist, and that the flat horizon that rises to their eye level is actually the physical curvature of a globe. They have been given explanations for every question anyone would ever have about why the clearly level, motionless Earth they experience every day is actually a tilting, wobbling, spinning oblate sphere pair hurtling around the universe in 4 different directions simultaneously. Furthermore, they have been taught that anyone who dares question this dogma, or wishes to believe the evidence of their senses over the explanations of authorities, must be a tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorist or a complete moron. The humility it takes to humble oneself to having been deceived on such a level just isn't present in some people. They have a hubris and arrogance that refuses to consider alternative information. Psychologically speaking, it's a defense mechanism to prevent them from experiencing the crippling cognitive dissonance every flat earther eventually feels when realizing they have been deceived to such an enormous degree. If people are still at this stage of resistance to listening to alternative information, it's probably best not to push too hard, but to confidently assert your position and let them know you would love to discuss the matter with them further if and when they are ready to open their mind to the subject. I also recommend trying to get them to agree to sitting down and watching a good flat earth documentary, like Level, Flatten the Curve, The History of Flat Earth, or 200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball. This takes the focus and onus off of you to answer all their questions, as many of them will be answered while they watch. Better yet, if they will agree to reading a book on the subject, gifting them a copy of The Flat Earth Conspiracy, or Flat Earth FAQ, is a highly effective way to awaken stubborn globe believers.
If, as some suggest, there are other continents beyond the Antarctic wall, possibly inhabited by other civilizations, then why have they never tried to contact us or visit us?
That is a good rhetorical question, pointing to the possibility that maybe there actually are not any other continents or civilizations beyond Antarctica. If Earth terminates in a dome firmament, as ancient cultures believed, and is written in the Bible and old encyclopedias, then there wouldn't be any other continents or civilizations beyond. Until we successfully abolish the Antarctic Treaty and push for full independent exploration of Antarctica and beyond, we will never really be able to confirm or deny such theories. It's possible that further lands and civilizations do exist, but just as we are not able to contact them, perhaps they cannot contact us due to technological limitations or restrictions from their government. Perhaps they don't want to contact us because they're much further advanced. Or perhaps they have contacted some of us, but only in small, intentional ways that isn't known to the masses. Maybe certain reports of UFOs, aliens, cryptids, and other unexplained phenomena is actually evidence of other civilizations visiting from beyond the known world. At the moment, all we have to go on is speculation and hearsay, so I'm currently still open to the possibilities.
My question is about the recent experiment that took place in Antarctica in December 2024, where some people claim to observe the sun for a full 24 hours. What's your opinion on this? Because in the flat earth community, that observation stirred up quite a bit of debate.
I've actually already made a few videos specifically on this subject, both before and after this so-called final experiment, so I recommend watching the videos on my channel titled The Final Strawman Experiment and Final Experiment Fakery. To summarize, a group of globe earthers, headed by a millionaire named Will Duffy, with the stated mission of, quote, putting the flat earth to bed for good, invited several flat earth and anti-flat earth YouTubers to observe the midnight sun in Antarctica. Their claim is that seeing a 24-hour sun in Antarctica somehow disproves the flat earth and proves Earth a globe. The problem is, no genuine flat earther accepts this fallacious strawman argument as proof of anything. They're attempting to claim that the motion of a light in the sky overhead somehow gives proof of the shape of the ground underfoot. It's analogous to inviting a contractor to measure the dimensions of your floor, but instead of taking measurements of the floor, he climbs a ladder and starts measuring the recessed lights in the ceiling. Then, after doing some calculations and extrapolations based on his ceiling lighting measurements, he tells you definitively that your floor is a spinning ball. The only reason flat earthers have claimed there likely isn't a midnight sun in Antarctica is because there are countless clearly genuine videos of the phenomenon in the Arctic, and only a couple dubious doctored ones claiming to show a 24-hour sun in the south. If this is such a common and easily filmed phenomenon, why has it taken this final experiment to finally get footage of it? Now, even assuming all the videos of the Antarctic sun filmed by the final experiment crew were all 100% genuine and filmed in the exact location and time claimed, this still makes no difference to Flat Earth. Whether or not they filmed an Antarctic midnight sun, still water remains level, the horizon remains flat, and there remains no measurable curvature. The Earth is still a level plane, regardless of any solar observations. The motion of a light in the sky overhead cannot possibly prove the shape of the ground underfoot. The Flat Earth community has long had models that explain a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, including Lady Blunt and Albert Smith's model in their 19th century book Zetetic Astronomy. More recently, Joseph Hanvey has also done work constructing a demonstration using lights projected off a dome firmament showing exactly how an Antarctic 24-hour sun works on flat Earth. So was the footage filmed by the final experiment crew 100% genuine and filmed in the exact time and location claimed? The Flat Earth community has exposed countless problems and anomalies with this footage shown in my final experiment fakery video. There is legitimate reason to doubt and be skeptical of all their footage, as well as the shady characters posing as flat earthers. For example, I have called out Jeranism as being a shill since he came on the scene in 2015. He completely sold us out working for 3 Globe producers in Netflix documentary Behind the Curve, which made Flat Earth look ridiculous. And now in 2024, he has done it again, going along with these Globe proponents who are now making another anti-Flat Earth documentary. Jeran, who I said was not a true Flat Earther since day one, has now officially gone back to the Globe and changed his channel to a Flat Earth debunking, pro-Globe channel. It's clear to me that this so-called final experiment is a Globe shill psyop, trying, as Will Duffy admitted, to, quote, put the flat Earth to bed, by making it seem like this one time-lapse video of a 24-hour sun, supposedly in Antarctica, means Earth somehow isn't measured and demonstrably a level plane.
Assuming the North Pole is the center of the flat Earth, it makes sense that the Tropic of Cancer is closer to the center and shorter in distance, while the Tropic of Capricorn is farther out and much larger. That would mean the Sun has to travel a longer path when it's over the southern region near the Tropic of Capricorn. But if the day is still 24 hours long, does that mean the Sun moves faster during that time? That's something I find really hard to understand in the flat Earth model.
From the summer solstice to the winter solstice, the Sun makes an ever-widening, ever-faster circle over and around the flat Earth for 6 months, traveling from the Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn. This means the Sun's actual path is like a coiled snake, slowly spiraling outwards several miles per day, and picking up just enough speed to remain in a perfect 24-hour cycle. Then for the next 6 months, the Sun's return trip is like a coiled snake spiraling inwards several miles per day, losing just enough speed as it travels to maintain its 24-hour cycle. The Moon also moves between the tropics, but it does so every month, and retains its same speed the entire time. This is actually the ancient origin of fables like the hare and the hedgehog, or the tortoise and the hare. The hare, being the Sun, starts the race at the Tropic of Capricorn, and takes off going faster than the slow and steady tortoise Moon. As the Sun spirals and slows towards the Tropic of Cancer, the Moon maintains its same speed, which during and around the summer solstice becomes faster than the Sun. This is mythologized as the hare taking a nap while the slow and steady tortoise overtakes him. Then, for the next half of the race, the Sun speeds back up, trying to catch up, but ultimately loses to the tortoise Moon.
In the flat Earth model, how does gravity work? And why do objects always fall downward?
The effects of so-called gravity were actually well understood and adequately explained by the natural physics of density and buoyancy long before the fabled apple dropped on Isaac Newton's head. Put simply, all objects rise or fall based on their relative density to the medium surrounding them. Apples fall because they are denser than the air, and helium balloons rise because they are lighter. There is no need to add an additional theoretical force to explain this natural, demonstrable buoyant force. Raindrops fall down through the air, and air bubbles rise up through the water because they are seeking their appropriate relative density. Everyone knows the reason a tiny pebble sinks to the bottom of the ocean, but gigantic cruise ships and aircraft carriers are able to stay afloat on the surface is due to relative density and buoyant force. Even though the pebble is so small, its mass relative to its volume, otherwise known as its density, is more than water, so it sinks. And even though an aircraft carrier is so large, its mass relative to its volume is still less than water, so it floats. The idea that gravity is somehow strong enough to hold and mold the entire Earth's oceans stuck to a spinning sphere, but simultaneously weak enough that fish can freely swim through and jump in and out of that water, is completely implausible and defies all common sense. If Newton's apple had landed in a puddle instead of on his head, he would have seen the apple only fell through the air because it was denser than the air, but then floated on top of the water because it was less dense than water. As for the second question of why objects fall downwards when dropped, rather than upwards or sideways, firstly, there is a natural pressure gradient formed by the amount of stacked air, water, or land over you in a column, which gradually increases the amount of pressure, weight, and density the farther down you go, and that defines direction. Secondly, helium balloons fall up, not down, proving there is actually no downward directional bias. You can also prove this point by throwing various kinds of rocks, including pumice, into a pond. All rocks excluding the pumice stone will sink to the bottom, but when you throw in the pumice, it will rise right back to the surface. This is because pumice has a density less than water, just like helium balloons have a density less than air. Their relative density, being lower than the medium surrounding, causes them to rise, just as things with a relative density higher than the medium surrounding causes them to fall. These so-called effects of gravity clearly have everything to do with relative density and buoyant force, and nothing to do with this extraneous theory of a mythical pulling force from the center of the ball Earth added by Newton.
In your opinion, what's the most undeniable proof that the Earth is flat?
For me, I would say the most undeniable proof that Earth is not a spinning ball lies in the natural physics of water. All bodies of standing water, from bathtubs and pools to ponds and lakes, are perfectly level, showing no deviation in height at any point from one end to the other. Water molecules are physically unable to stack upon themselves, and therefore it is physically impossible for standing bodies of water to show convexity or any shape whatsoever upon their surface. The globe model completely defies this demonstrable physical property of water by claiming Earth's rivers, ponds, lakes, and oceans are all somehow curving themselves around a ball. If Earth is 71% covered in provably level water, it's impossible for the remaining 29% to somehow form a sphere.
Thank you so much, Eric, from all of us at TPR and our community for taking the time to do this interview. We truly appreciate your honesty, your dedication, and the work you're doing to help wake people up around the world. We wish you all the very best moving forward. With gratitude, the TPR team.